So this morning I want to give you a quick update on some of our community work and just encourage you to join in where you can. We've just been designing some cards and adverts for a helpline that we're looking to launch on April the 20th, just after the Easter holidays. Apologies that we've not been able to do this sooner, but also our response has mainly been targeted at those we're already in contact with through Foodbank, through the cafe and through Food Pantry. So it's taken a while, but as a church from April the 20th, we're going to set up a separate telephone number as a helpline. It'll be a local 0121 number. It's something that we're going to advertise on social media and give to local residents. And it will give local people who are unable to leave the house the opportunity to connect 3 mornings a week to a helpline where they can access support for getting essential items, for picking up limited amounts of shopping, for getting access to other local support such as Foodbank, and perhaps most importantly, connecting with a friendly person to just have a chat with. We're going to advertise also with Sandwell Council just to make sure that we are connecting and coordinating with their services as well. I want to thank those who've already offered to volunteer, and we are going to organise a call next week to finalise the details and also give you access to resources as you man that helpline to help signpost people to local provision where needed. The helpline will redirect to a volunteer's mobile phone. It won't cost those volunteers anything to receive the call, and the person calling will only be charged the local rate for calling an 0121 number. Those that don't want to operate the helpline can still be involved in the friendly chat, so please do let us know if you can help and get involved in that way. If you love to talk, use that gift to support others who also love to talk at this time, who are feeling disconnected. So for now, I'm just going to show you an interview that took place last Friday. This is the end of our Foodbank session between James Lynch, who is the leader of Sandwell Church's Link, who's also a trustee of Smethwick Can, and who volunteers with us also on a Friday during this crisis. And our very own amazing Amy Allen, who, as you already know, works with me at Smethwick Can as our admin manager. And this gives you just an insight, a picture of what is happening at the moment. And then I'm just going to finish with a few words.
Hi there, I'm James and I've just done my second shift helping out with Foodbank in Smethwick, and I'm here with Amy, who helps to run the operations here, and I'm just going to ask her a few questions about how today went. So Amy, tell me a little bit about how the Foodbank was for you today.
It's the busiest we've ever been. In 2 hours we served 81 vouchers, that's 81 households, the majority of which were families. We had a queue out down the road, obviously with social distancing, but it has been a bit relentless, to be honest.
And 81 sounds an awful lot. How does that compare to a normal average week for you?
So a normal average week, I would say in a normal session we do between 20 and 30 vouchers.
Wow.
This time last week we did 40, and so we've doubled in a week in terms of demand.
Wow, that's massive. And most people were, what would you say is the main reason for the increase?
So a lot of the feedback came back as people who have recently lost their job and are therefore waiting now for their universal credit and their benefits to kick in, or going through the application process. We had a lot of people saying they'd been made redundant in the last 2-3 weeks, and obviously now's the point where the reality of that financially for their family kicks in. That was over and above the majority of reasons. Other people saying because they couldn't get to appointments and things, or there were issues, there were delays in their benefits. Also people who were ill and unable to work, or who were collecting on behalf of somebody who was ill and unable to work at the moment.
And it's Friday today, the next time you're open is Tuesday?
Yeah.
What do you most need before Tuesday?
Food. So we have had some of the most incredible donations we've ever had over the last 2 weeks. Our need has gone up, but actually people's kindness, people's generosity, people just really wanting to give. Our phone is ringing off the hook with people asking to volunteer. Unfortunately, at the moment, we can't accept more volunteers because we're trying to keep our levels really, really low in terms of the amount of people in the room because of social distancing and things like that. And we also don't want to put volunteers at risk. But we are out of meat, tinned meat, please don't send fresh things in. We are pretty much out of coffee, rice pudding, custard, which are really important for clients in terms of calcium and boosting their calcium levels.
Cereals?
We've got hardly any of, and we get through quite a lot of cereal. Anybody who's got kids, particularly teenagers, they eat a lot of cereal. What else are we short of? Things like pasta sauce, UHT milk, those sort of things. So it was a lot really. The only thing we've got lots of is baked beans, chickpeas and pasta. Pretty much everything else.
And if people want to donate, how can they get that to you? Where can they drop it to?
Okay, so they can drop it here at Holy Trinity on a Tuesday or a Friday morning. We do ask if people can, if they can come in a morning before food bank starts, because we've got lots and lots of clients in a queue and it gets quite difficult if we're dealing with donations as well. So any time from 9:30 till 12 really would be ideal. Or if you can't get it to us, there's Asda in Cape Hill, Tesco in West Brom, or Global Foods in Bearwood. We are also here to accept donations on a Wednesday as well. Alternatively, if people think, well, actually I'm not quite sure I can do any of those, but they've got a donation they want to donate, if they email foodbank@smethwickcan.org, we can arrange a time to suit them.
Fantastic. And finally, just give us one highlight. Let's start with the negative. Start with the hardest thing for you today, and then we'll come to a highlight.
I think the hardest thing for me has been seeing the desperation on people's faces. And part of the reason we are opening with a queue is because people are scared we're not going to be open. And so seeing the relief, I think, on people's faces is actually really hard, that people think that we're not going to be here, and people are very, very frightened.
Yeah. And a highlight from today?
A highlight for me would actually just be the way our clients support each other. So we've had several clients today who didn't speak English, and one man, bless him, must have let about 3 or 4 people go in front of him so that he could translate and support us. A client who turned up, we hadn't got food, but he'd managed to buy some soap, and so he brought some soaps with him to give to other people, because that's what he'd got to give. And I think there is a real sense, genuinely as well, of community at the moment. I think in some ways this is bringing out the best in a lot of people, and the amount of people who say, what can I do, is quite incredible, and that really encourages us and keeps us going, because we've shrunk as a team without all our volunteers, and actually knowing that we've got communities and churches behind us and rooting for us and supporting us really does mean a lot.
So we know there is some amazing work going on as local churches across Smethwick, Sandwell and the West Midlands as they respond to this current crisis. And I just want to finish with some words from Paul when he's writing to the church in Corinth, and he says this in 2 Corinthians 9 verse 11, and I'm reading this from the Amplified version. It says, "You will be enriched in every way so that you may be generous. And this generosity administered through us is producing thanksgiving to God from those who benefit." Now, we are blessed, and our job is to bless others with that blessing. It's to glorify God. It's to produce thanksgiving to God. If God's given you good health, then it's not for us to spoil ourselves. Serving the poor isn't solely about having sympathy for their plight, but it's actually about sharing the goodness, the generosity, the grace and mercy of God with each other. James taught the early church that religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction and to keep oneself unstained from the world. That's James 1 verse 27. God is placing strangers in our path, hundreds of them at the moment. And I believe we are giving a piece of the generosity we have experienced in Christ to those that come into our contact. So please come and be generous with us. Come and help us show this goodness, this generosity, this mercy of God at this time. Thanks again for your support, and we'll connect again with a community update after Easter when our helpline is in place and up and running. God bless you.